How do you respond when your entire world just changed? I'm serious. Think about it for a moment. Weeks ago, you weren't even thinking about social distancing or practicing isolation. Now, how do we network? How do we grow our business? How do we stay connected? Furthermore, how can we be of service during this time? Join our host, Tony Grebmeier, and today's guests as they share their best practices and insights to help you navigate the waters ahead. Welcome to Networking Remote.
Welcome to episode number 6 of Networking Remote 2020, a series of discussions on business, connections, and community in a time of isolation. Wow. People are really connecting and enjoying what we're doing. I just want to say, if you'd like to join in on the conversation today, you need to make sure that you authenticate this feed wherever it is that you're watching it, streamyard.com/Facebook, and we'll make sure we put a link in just a second for you. So you can click it, you can join the conversation, your face and your comment will show up, and we will share those comments amongst the panelists today. I'm honored. I've got some amazing human beings who are giving up some of their Friday evening. I'm not sure if they have any place to go, but I know that it's really, really important about what they do have to share with you today. So I encourage you to find some paper, take some notes. There are 3 unique individuals with some really diverse backgrounds. So we got entrepreneurs, business leaders, innovators. That's all here. Even a guy who loves outdoor adventure. He will literally push his body to the limits at any chance that he gets just to see what he can get his output to be. So as we get ready to kind of join the show, I want to welcome you to Aaron Stokes. He is in the bottom. It's just Aaron, like Adele or Prince, or, that's Aaron down there. He's the founder of the Shop Fix Academy and a radio show host, an amazing, amazing human being, a great father, a wonderful husband. We got Peter O Estevez. He's an entrepreneur, philanthropist, runs a refinery down in Mexico, a podcast host, also the Coming Clean podcast show. This guy right here has a lot to share about overcoming adversity and how to find opportunities in everything that you do. And the guy with the mohawk, that is Brad Weimert, one of the coolest cats you will ever meet in your life. Somebody who I'm humbled to know. I'm grateful that who he is showed up in my life at the right time, where I really just needed somebody who was just fucking real. I'm just going to say it like that. I guess that's the only way. So if you just got a filtered F in your world, I apologize. But sometimes you just have to roll with it. And he is the founder of Easy Pay Direct. He's an outdoorsman. Welcome, guys, to the panel today. I'm excited for you to be here for Networking Remote.
Thank you. Good to be here, man.
Thank you for having us.
So a lot of us have some stay-at-home orders being lifted very soon. I'm not saying run out right now, that you heard it on Facebook, that you can go back to whatever you were doing. That's not the reality yet. Every place is different. Ours just got extended here in Colorado for another week. But what I really wanted to do is first just check in with you as just humans and individuals, and just get a minute update on kind of your experience in lockdown, good, bad, ugly, whatever it may be. And then we'll kind of jump into today's discussion. So we'll go with Brad first, because Brad and I I think it was Friday night. You shot me just a really touching kind of personal message. I think you were playing catch with a professor, and I just saw this message and I'm like, I want to reach out. And then we ended up chatting for about an hour, just kind of having a FaceTime discussion. And so really, I wanted to know, how are you first doing? Second, kind of how has lockdown been for you?
I am sick. I have been sick for about 6 weeks, which is annoying and a little bit crazy. I did get a COVID test and tested negative. So there's that, for what that's worth. As I mentioned on Friday, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in in the accuracy of the test that first came out. But either way, it's just annoying being sick. So I have been at home, but my company is still up and running. So we are business essential. We're a banking related service. And so the team is all still in the office. So it's been an interesting dynamic. For them, they love the ability to not be stuck at home. They have all vocalized their gratitude for getting away from family for some period of time. For me, it's been interesting. I mean, like in a lot of ways, it's both super, super, super busy and also calming in some ways, because there's not a sense, there's kind of less FOMO all around, from business, personal, social, etc. Less expectations to be places and do things. So for me, at least initially, I had this general sense of a little bit more calm in my life.
I like it. All right, Peter, O Estevez, how's it been for you? And then how are you?
Thank you, Tony. It's been interesting. I actually happened to be on a roadshow when the lockdown was announced, and I went back to our operations in Mexico, and we suspended operations as of the 13th of last month. We suspended it immediately. We kind of, although our businesses operate in Mexico, I kind of took the advice of what's going on in the States, primarily in Tijuana, because Tijuana operates very much like we do in the States. We border with California, and it's a very strong maquiladora community where a lot of the companies that are there doing business, they're American companies primarily, or companies from foreign countries, from different foreign countries. So I took it up on myself to suspend our operations immediately. Although we are an essential business, I realized that our business was going to drop tremendously just because of the nature of our of the culture and the environment and in the community that we service. I am doing well. It's been an adjustment, and it's been up and down. The first week is very exciting to be home. My son had been off to college, freshman year in college, so he had been away for several months. So being reunited with my son and being at home the first week was kind of exciting. But at the same time, being in lockdown and being Houston happens to be one of those hot spots. So being in lockdown and having a curfew in the city, it kind of gets to you after a while. I although I have developed a series of rituals and habits, for my well-being, prayer, meditation, exercising, after a while you kind of jump off that cliff. It's like you're not as committed to doing them on a regular schedule. You kind of lax off, and that's happened to me. I try to stay focused, and I try to stay engaged, but the one thing that I can say is that there's been a lot of this going on, this kind of connectivity, this virtual FaceTime, Zoom meetings. I think connectivity that we have not had in a long, long, long time. Being able to talk to friends and engage with new friends as we're doing today, calling old family members that I had not spoken to in several weeks or several months for that matter. So it's been a reconnect of humanity overall. And that sense has been nice and welcoming for me.
Thank you, Peter. I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to today with you as well. All right, just Aaron, go ahead and let us know how you're doing and what you're experiencing during kind of a new era for everybody's life.
Yeah, man, it's well, in auto repair, we're an essential business. It's down. Things have really slowed down tremendously. With our clients across the country, they've slowed down tremendously. And we're really trying to support them with their consulting and even the shops that we own here. But, just because you're an essential business and you do all the right steps, it doesn't mean you're going to be busy. It doesn't mean things are going to work out. So it's been hard watching other businesses that don't have the money in the bank, that don't have the savings, watching everything they built be torn down in a matter of weeks. It's hard to watch. If you're a fellow entrepreneur and you know the blood, sweat, and tears it takes, and when you see that happening to somebody else, it's a bummer. I mean, it's hard enough to take that on. So that part's been kind of depressing. It's been a little sad. It's been rough not being able to be a part of normal life. But Brad hit on something. There's this weird calm that just comes with, I'm supposed to be amped up. I'm supposed to be doing all this traveling. You're like there's nothing happening. Everything else I'm going to do, there's no way it's happening now. Even if I want to go, they're not going, so I can't go. So it's a funny period. And I will say, for the first half of April, maybe the last week of March, when none of us really knew where we were going to land with this, it was a very strange feeling. It was like I had an IV with cortisol just dripping. I was having trouble sleeping. It was just a constant low tone of stress. Never enough stress to, really stress me out or push me over the edge or anything like that. Just enough that you're like, something is off. But yet I was calm, like Brad was describing. So it was this weird dichotomy. So for me, it was a little strange. It's kind of funny. My wife took this big gymnastic mat over to our barn and rolled it out. We've got this barn on a farm. And she had the black market gym for the kids. And parents were driving up with little SUVs, dropping kids off with dark tinted windows, and kids were running inside and doing their thing. So, we're making out as we can. We had a guy come cut everybody's hair at our house, all the kids, myself, my wife, and
they missed something down here.
Yeah, I got to do something with this. I don't know what the deal is. But, it's been weird. It's been definitely strange. But like Brad said, I think the calm has been good, especially for some people out there with family and friends and relationships maybe that you've let slip. So in that sense, it's been a good thing. But I am ready to get back to normal. I can tell you that much.
No, I mean, I think, what is that, right? Like, you've heard that word. Love some dialogue on that today, because I'd love everybody's take, because I don't think we're going to get back to normal. I think it's going to be something we've never seen before. So, Brad, maybe your thoughts on what are you kind of looking out on the horizon? Maybe how are you leading your team, and what information maybe you've been processing yourself? I'd love feedback on that. And then feel free, you guys, just to jump in through this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, this is a recurring conversation. It has been for the last 6 weeks. And I have a kind of a high level of frustration and a fair amount of disdain for people that make definitive assessments about what will be or what won't be, because A, nobody knows, but B, I think more importantly, that assessment is highly, highly contingent on how long these things last. So, especially in the early moments, if the lockdown is a month, it's different than if it's 2 months. And that's very different than if it's 3, 6, or 12 months, right? So, being locked down for a month, 6 weeks is minimal damage. As soon as you go into the 3-month period, now we're not just talking about immediate savings gone. We're talking about an 18% unemployment. We're talking about 30%, 35%. We're talking about, and then we go into 4 to 6 months, we're talking about manufacturing challenges, distribution challenges, farming challenges, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a totally different ripple effect. So, I think that if we have this initial rollout in the next couple of weeks of starting to get production and starting to get socialization back on track, at least the economic impact will start to change. So I've been very fortunate thus far, and that's kind of been my narrative is, we serve e-commerce companies. So in the short run, e-commerce is all spiked, right? And they're not across the board, but many industries. But that won't last if we all stay in lockdown, because the amount of money getting pumped into the system will be reduced at that point. So that's my overall assessment.
No, and you and I had part of this conversation last week, right? There's this a lot of uncertainty, right? And if you watch the news, which please don't, you will literally be told a bunch of stuff. And I was having a conversation with my friend Adil Marcy over in the UK. I saw him towards the end of February. I was with him hanging out, had afternoon tea, and their stuff just keeps getting extended. I kind of feel like in a lot of ways, and I don't know how to put it any different than this, is that we're on a plane and it's slightly went off course. And they come over the loudspeaker saying, hey, we have to make an emergency landing and we'll let you know more on the ground. And we're like, cool. We don't know when this plane's landing. We don't know which airport we're landing in. We're just knowing that we're going somewhere. And then it lands, and then they shuttle everybody off, and then they pull everybody to the side and said, we had terrorists on the plane. Like we had a lot worse scenario, but they're only giving us micro amounts of information. They're not telling us any more than what we can chew on right now. So that's kind of like what we got into that conversation today. And, I don't go down the conspiracy theorist. I don't have time for that. But what's interesting is everybody has a little bit different feedback on that same scenario. They're all getting different bites of information. So Aaron, Peter, I know that you both run in very different arenas, but yet very much are necessary to kind of the essentials of what makes America run, right? Oil and gas, also the automotive industry, getting cars back on the road, helping mechanics across. Like Aaron's outfit isn't just like a couple shops. He coaches, he's helping shop owners all across the United States. And I know you've got people as far as Alaska and other places as well. So I'd love your take, your feedback, what you're hearing, what you're thinking. How are you driving the conversation with the people that you are responsible for and also the people that you have a chance to lead?
Well, it's crazy. We've got clients that are absolutely blown out, having record months, kind of how Brad was just describing, but they're nervous. They're nervous that that's about to come to an end if things don't get back to whatever the normal is going to be after this. Also got clients that are down 70% and are scared. I mean, just absolutely petrified. One thing that I think we can all agree on is there's definitely forming two parties, and I think the political system keeps trying to make the two groups fall into a party, but out on the street, it really doesn't. And it's I'm ready to get back out and start working, and I'm petrified to death. And out there in the media, they keep trying to force it down party lines. But if you really go talk to people, you'll meet conservatives that don't want to leave their house, and you'll meet liberals that can't wait to get out, and you'll meet liberals that want to stay in their house, and you'll meet conservatives that can't wait to get out. You'll meet them both. But the sad thing is they're really being pitched against each other, and it's not through information, it's through fear, which is really sad. And we've got a lot of studies coming out now. Jay Bhattacharya, if I can say his last name right, just did that huge announcement about 4% of the population with a study he did there out of Santa Clara County, and multiple other studies about to be released, and some others from other colleges have now been released. And so now they think anywhere from 10 to 20 million Americans already have it right now and do not even know it. So now this is starting to look totally different than the flu, the pneumonia, everything we've ever seen. How do we handle it? What do we do? The government's certainly not going to come out and say, hey, sorry, we made a mistake. And they're not going to come out and say, well, sorry, it's actually way worse. They're just going to leave it like it is. And then we're going to switch into an election. And we're all just going to be kind of on this thing, getting our heads jerked around like we're on a roller coaster. So like you said about the plane, that's an accurate analogy. I've been saying a roller coaster, but they're both the same. We don't know when this is going to end. And we're stuck on it until we get there. And I think the biggest thing right now, we got to keep people encouraged. We got to point to the opportunity that's out there. Encourage people right now to stand up in their community, to lead, to keep confidence up. Because the quickest thing that will bring it back is confidence in their economy, in their community. That if I go spend $1 at my Mexican restaurant, at the local, when a bowling alley opens up, a movie theater when it opens up, that's going to somehow come back into my business. But the moment confidence is crushed for good, I think we're going to have a new normal like we've never seen before. And I do think we can get back to a sense of normalcy. It won't be what we have now. But Brad hit the nail on the head. If they just keep kind of taking it a week at a time, pushing it out, because they know if they told us 5 months, we'd all just go nuts and martial law would have to happen, right? But if they just keep dragging this out a week at a time, and these governors get in this contest of who can be the longest, who can push it out the farthest, there's going to be some serious, serious consequences. The state of Tennessee, we had more people die last week of suicides than we did the entire thing of COVID-19. Indiana normally was getting 250 calls a day, went up to 25,000 calls a day in the suicide hotline. There is more. I hate to see what happens with divorce, abuse with children. There's so much more. The opioid epidemic, alcohol stores are having record sales right now. Like, there's a lot of other stuff that's not good that we're sweeping under the rug that's happening with this. And at some point, we have to weigh that stuff. It's not even so much, is the disease that bad or not? I feel that we need to pay attention to the things that right now are going wrong that just are not in the news. And then take that and weigh that against this COVID-19. We don't.
The,
We
the
never
narrative,
know.
the narrative, right, is like it's like first responders are at the front line. You know, I was at the grocery store yesterday grabbing stuff, masks and gloves and all that good stuff, and now you start seeing the news like the production of meat is tainted and the things are coming, and like you know there's a lot of that. But what you were just talking about, if you can feed your local economy, you're going to help sustain and support some stuff. I had a good friend of mine, Terry, opened a business 7 weeks prior to basically all of this shutting down, just getting ready to start. It's been his dream for 10, 15 years. And the landlord said, hey, you know what? I believe in you, and don't worry about paying me right now. Let's get everything going again. And I know you'll be good for the business. I know you'll be good for the economy. Let's get you live. And I was telling him, I'm like, now's a perfect opportunity for you to have a grand reopening, right? So like be working on those types of things with your mind versus all the negative things that your mind can start saying, And no, I think it's very interesting. I don't know if I'm going back to a bowling alley anytime soon. I'm just telling you, really, like it just that scares me a little bit. The movie industry, I think, is going to be affected and changed for a long time. The way that theaters are set and designed. The Ryanair airline CEO said the other day, he's like, I'm not putting my planes in the air if I have to distance the middle seat. He's like, so a lot of things are going to dynamically change in the industry because everybody's going to have a different view of how they're going to come back. So I think really for our conversation and everything, I love it. Peter, I my heart broke when we were talking a couple of weeks ago, and you're like, I had to shut everything, basically down. Like, I've got these oil refineries down in Mexico City, and we got to put pause on it. We got to say sorry to a lot of people. So, and gas prices are going up and down and all around. So, how are you hanging with that? And then I'd love your take.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest lessons that I have learned is the difference between my wants and my needs. And I think if we can take that moving forward into a new economy, I think we can get out of this a lot faster than previous recessions that we had encountered. But yes, there is a lot of collateral damage behind the scenes that we are not seeing, as Aaron pointed out. The alcohol consumption, the suicides, the child abuse, the pedophilia, a lot of that collateral damage that is not in our face, and we're not seeing it. The only thing that we can do collectively as a group is to stay positive and continue to be leaders in our communities, and as so, continue to spread a message of goodwill. There is nothing else that we can do, because the reality is that there is no true solution as to whether this is going to reopen next month or the month after or the month after or the month after that. But one thing we cannot lose is our enthusiasm, and we cannot lose a positive attitude to continue conveying into the communities that we individually serve. And, for me, it was heartbreaking to lay off, almost 300 people and say, we don't know when we will see you. We will take care of you as long as we can. But the reality is that, oil prices are at an all-time low. But at the same time, you can't go anywhere. Gasoline prices at an all-time low, but you can't go anywhere. I mean, so there's a lot of factors in the economy that can jumpstart the economy right away from that perspective. But the reality is that as you paralyze the world without lack of activity, without lack of consumption, there's a lot of people out there going nuts, going literally crazy in their homes. And it's not sustainable. Forget the economy. It's the well-being of the human race.
Well, that's a great point, because, Aaron, you were talking about what really is going on, right? You're talking about suicide increases. You're talking about the numbers. Yesterday, I was riding my bike in the morning, listening to Gary Vee. He had Jewel on, and she's got a big movement right now around suicide and young teens. Everything spiked. I mean, I feel for the people who are getting ready to graduate high school this year.
They're not.
And that experience is for them is completely changed. And it's going to affect, my son was a freshman in college, listen to Peter, freshman in college, and like their whole experience got shifted and changed. I mean, for anybody, you go off to college, it's kind of like where you learn how to party a little bit. You kind of figure out about life, and you kind of like, you learn a little bit about who you are if you're lucky and fortunate enough to go to college in that regard. Now he's in my basement. now he's in my basement and he's like bored because there's not a lot that, all of his friends are locked in their places. And so some of the connection and communication. So I think I want to shift because I want to fall into something because I think it's dynamically an essential ingredient. Peter touched on it. I'd love, Brad, to know some people that you've reached out to and talked to in the landscape of the world, not necessarily just down the street from you. Have you seen a rise in your conversations and then the kind of authentic parts of those relationships? Like, have you felt like a different tone in the conversation?
I don't know if it's any more authentic. I mean, there's a never-ending, unavoidable narrative of jokes about being at home, about business, and the majority of my peer group are entrepreneurs. So it's a lot of assessment of that, and then it's more time in general. I think more face time in general, but I think it's just for all of the negatives that were just pulled out, secondary and tertiary negatives of the lockdown, suicide, obesity, alcoholism, et cetera, et cetera. The flip side of that is also true. There's also more time with your family. You also have your son home at a time in an era where you would never otherwise have him home. You have an opportunity to look at how change is powerful and how change is the only thing, and variance is the only thing that we can count on in life. And what are we going to do with that? And so, Tony, you above most people I know are consistently living that, right? It's an opportunity to look at, hey, what's going on right now and what can we do? On the front end of this, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who business was locked down. He laid off 10 people within the first week. And he was just struck with anxiety. And he was giving me stats of how the 2008 issue had impacted his industry. And I said, look, that's true, but that does not have to have anything to do with your company's success or failure. Those are statistical truths of the entire industry, and there are always outliers. The variable is you. The variable is how you are going to change, how you are going to adapt, what you are going to do differently right now. And you have the capacity to have a different outcome and a different future, right? You do not have to be in line with the statistics. And I think that's a narrative that is really important for people to understand. Look, it's not the same as it was, right? We don't know what's going to happen next, but it does not have to crush you. Whatever industry you're in, it doesn't have to crush you. You just need to modify and change and figure it out, right? And that's entrepreneurship at large, but it's more aggressive right now. But I think it's important to hear that. And so some of my friends, that's the dialogue and that's the conversation. Others, it's raising a glass and being silly and entertaining ourselves through the nonsense. There's some variance, but I think it's important to
drinking picked up in the beginning and is mellowed out, or is it stay consistent?
I have gone both ways. I've played in both sides of this arena.
I love what you said about your friend who wanted to come and visit you. He's like, is it the dry Brad or the drinking Brad? Like, I need to know which friend I'm coming to visit.
Yeah, I go through some pretty significant waves in both directions. So,
how's your exercise? I know you've been sick. First and foremost, man, let's get you better, right? And glad that COVID. I'm glad that whatever is ailing you, I hope that it leaves you as soon as it can, and that you get back to the Brad that I love. That's the outdoor energy. Go, challenge yourself to the extremes. But I got to mention, like a dear friend of mine today, he got word at 2:42 in California that his dad died of COVID, this morning. So, you couldn't see him. He was talking to his dad at, a little after midnight. His dad, meaning he was talking, his dad wasn't. And he got to say his, goodbyes to his dad via like a cell phone up to his dad's ear. And so that touches home because that's like, that's somebody that you've gone to battle with and you understand. So, when people are talking about the memes you hear and the jokes you hear, and I think I've been responsible for that in the very beginning, and then you realize, crap, it's down the street. It could be in my house. mean, that's serious stuff. So I was thinking about that when you were saying how you were doing, and it took me a little while to ponder that thought, but 6 weeks of being sick, let's get you back out. Cause I know that how important that outdoor adventure Brad is. What have you been doing though, besides working? Have you been able to go outside, take some walks and kind of get some fresh air, breathing in?
Yeah.
You live in a nice place, but there's nothing like hitting the ground and walk,
Yeah. I'm in a great, I can't imagine being in a better environment. I live right on, the water in Austin, and I'm right on it. So I go downstairs, take the dog out multiple times a day. I haven't been able to run because that seems to really crush my energy. Got some weights in here and some workouts in here, but a lot less activity than normal, which it makes the whole thing weird. It's a very strange experience to be sick for 6 weeks. My family, who is full of doctors, are telling me that it's not actually unreasonable to have a cold for 6 weeks, but I've personally never experienced that, so I think it's unreasonable.
Yeah, and like a lot of times during this, it's allergies. It's some allergies, and you just kind of keep going and you don't stop. And now that you really can't go anywhere, you have stopped and go, "Oh, I'm not feeling 100%." Peter.
Yep.
Well, Tony, I have maintained my routine. It's been a struggle. I got to tell you, it has been a struggle. Weightlifting and doing some body lifting movements. But it's hard. I mean, I have not found myself as motivated. Now, on the other side, on the flip side, I have found a lot of creativity. I have found that I allow myself a lot more creativity than before. In fact, I had a meeting with my team on Monday, and we started looking at different projects, not anything that we will exercise, but we started thinking outside the box. So I did find myself with the opportunity to be able to draw into ideas and perhaps even listen to points of view that I had maybe pushed away or not even consider in the past. And one of the things that I'm very fascinated about right now is spreading the message, because although, as Brad stated a minute ago, there's a lot of great things that had happened as a result of what's going on today. The closeness to the family, I'm able to enjoy having my son here, but he also too had one of his classmates, his father, die of corona, just a few days ago. So it hit home. I mean, you literally feel it. I mean, when it's that close, and it doesn't matter how much you try to avoid talking about the topic and brushing it or sweeping it under the rug, it's something that's right on our face. But the reality is, I do believe, and I'm going to go back to that as leaders in our communities, we have a moral obligation to continue to push the message of positivity, because if people that touch as many lives as you do, Tony, as Brad, Aaron, and myself, if we begin to crumble, just imagine what would happen to the rest of the world. And this is just a domino effect. So, in spite of some of the challenges that I deal with on a daily basis, I still show up and show up. It doesn't matter. I do it because I feel I have an obligation. I have a responsibility. And I also have a son that is watching every move that I make. And, he is too a freshman in college. He was expecting and excited about being there and spending time with his buddies, about doing some summer trips, about doing some internships. All of that experience is out the door. But I have seen something in him. I have seen his commitment in education. I have seen his discipline, acting, getting up every morning, suiting up like he is in a classroom at the university. And a lot of that has to do with me forcing myself to do that, even when I don't feel like doing it.
No, it's so powerful. Now we're going to go to a house of many. Aaron, you have 4 kids?
Yeah.
And you and your wife, and you have been doing some really cool stuff, with your community, that you're coaching a bunch of shop owners every night. For a lot of you who are watching right now, may or may not know this, but Aaron was on vacation, and your wife, Lydia, did not want to leave. I know that you forced her to go back to Nashville. But every single night since, I don't know, I got back.
Middle of March.
Back on the 10th or the other. What night did you start?
I don't even know what day. I have to go back and find it. It was the middle of March.
So every day that I've been back, Aaron has gone live to love it on his community and help people. And I think that's such an amazing accomplishment because, you know, I know that, you know, we've had these deep kind of conversations that, you know, our cup empties, right? Like at the end of the day, my cup's empty and, you know, I have the ability to go fill it up, but it still takes work. And I just want to honor you for that commitment because I know 300 plus people get on these things and 1,700, 2,000, 5,000 people see your messages and replay. And that just takes a lot of work. And I know it's taken time, but then what I also love is how you have found time for your family to join the conversation. That to me is just what, like Peter was talking, and Professor has helped Brad, you know, to stay sane. So let's talk a little bit about what Peter and Brad were kind of jumping in on, but also just how it's going with the family unit.
Well,
don't you have a daughter who was a senior in high school, officially kind of graduated now, right?
Yeah, I was about to say that. So my daughter, Journey's 18, and her graduation got canceled. Her prom got canceled. Everything's canceled. So she lost out on all that. She doesn't get to graduate. They're now talking about possibly doing an in-person graduation at the end of July. So we're hoping that happens. We're going to throw a private prom at our barn for her. And, just trying to do some stuff to make her special and, trying to return some of the stuff that was stolen in this whole situation. But I love what, both Peter and Brad have said. I mean, this is the time to take the spotlight. It's like, imagine if the light is this big, it has been focused onto one thing, this disease, and everything else is in the dark. And if we can just kind of unfocus that a little bit and get it more, take it from a spotlight to more of a floodlight and light up the rest of the world, people are going to go, well, what's going on over here? What's going on over here? What's going on over here? Because, it's hard to have a family and be an entrepreneur. I mean, it's hard. And especially the amount of hours I'm putting in right now. And every night from 8 to 10 p.m., I've been doing, these webinar Facebook Live deals here on StreamYard, and I've not stopped. And some of them out in the public, some of them only private, but every single night. Well, it started really cutting into family time. And I couldn't have dinner with my wife. And sometimes it was like, can I just have 5 minutes with you? And that's how I ended up putting my kids on my one of our episodes. My kids take my laptop, and we did a fake theft, and they stuck it in the garage where they were doing flips and jumping around doing their little gymnastic practices. And I had to come in the garage and go, where's my laptop? And they're like, not in here, Dad. And like, there's like already 50, 60 people watching, and they're just LOL laughing. They think it's hilarious. I have to get it and steal my laptop, go back to the living room, do my little thing. But I had to get my family involved. Every night, my daughter tells jokes to end it. She jumps on there and tells jokes to open it up. She's 11 years old. She literally holds her joke book and reads the jokes from the book. That's her version of stand-up. But everybody gets a kick out of it, right? And you got to find a way to do it because, as you know, when you're an entrepreneur, there is no family and business separation. It is a blend. So then it's about how well do I balance these two in the recipe? That's what it's about. I had a conference probably 2 years ago that people still cite. I was up front, I'm teaching. It was a small one, maybe 250 in the room. My senior at the time was probably, I guess she would have been a junior. She's laying on the floor with her textbook open, her earbuds in, doing her homework, and with her little feet up in the air, kicking back and forth, writing, right there on the stage, right at the front of the room next to me, because she wanted to be next to her dad. And the whole room just ignored her, and I taught, and I did my deal. But we all have to do that right now, because every webinar I've been on, every business meeting I've had, I hear some kid in the background crying, somebody running across the back of the room. You just got to kind of ignore it because you just get it. I mean, no one has pants on, probably even on this call right now. Well, I do. I'm at work. I've got my pants on. So me and Peter do. Tony and Brad aren't saying anything. But
you make it curious, like, wondering if everybody really knows what Brad's wearing.
But it's
I'm
one
not
of those
telling.
deals where we've got to spread the light. We've got to just include everything in the recipe, right? It's a pot of chili, and maybe it's a little salty right now, and we need to get it more balanced. And that's what we need to focus on. That's how we bring this positivity. We start talking about some other good things that are going on, maybe some other sad things that are going on. Maybe we talk about some people that need elective surgeries aren't getting them, and they're not able to get there, and ends up causing issues with their health. Maybe we talk about some food drive that's going on. There's a lot of kids that are not getting food because they're not going to school, and they're even in wealthy neighborhoods. But every wealthy area has a ghetto. No one wants to talk about that. And then there's a lot of just awesome stuff out there that even Brad brought up about just your kids are home, right? We're around family right now. So I think that if we can get that light more evenly distributed, everything will come to the surface, and then we can get about life quicker. Right now, as long as that spotlight is just focused on COVID-19, all you will hear is COVID-19.
Yeah.
And we as a group have to continue to go, hey, did you hear about blah, blah, blah? It has to be nothing about this disease. Because we survived, SARS, we survived the Spanish flu back in 1918. Shoot, we survived the flu pandemic in 17 and 18, which killed 88,000 people that no one talks about. 900,000 hospitalized that no one talks about. Wasn't even in the news then. So we can survive all that. Man, we can survive this. We got this. We got to get more positive and talk about the rest of the stuff that's going on and include our family in that mix. So I have a different take on it than a lot of people, but I know we can do this. But like Brad said earlier, I keep quoting Brad. Brad's a smart guy. But like Brad said
One of the
earlier,
smartest guys I know, and he's a
I endorse that.
if the governors keep pushing this date as a rolling date, because that's how you turn the heat up on a frog, right, in boiling water. You don't just crank it up all the way. It's a slow deal. Then what's going to happen is we're going to see slowly things start to fall apart, but we'll all just take it. But if they just said, hey, we're not opening up till August, I mean, you would have protests in the street and we would get something done.
Well, one of the things that this is shed light on is how different state government and federal government and city governments are. It's very easy to live in the United States and feel like, yeah, I live in the US and everything's pretty much the same. People might talk a little different in one place versus another. We communicate a little bit differently. It's warm or not as warm, but it's all the United States until now. And now you see that governors have a significant role in how things are going to be led in this moment. And city officials, mayors have a significant role. So I'm curious about it, but we are seeing people revolt right now. I mean, there are cities that are having protests. Austin had a protest the other day. And so I don't know how much longer this could go on without a more significant version of that. And I guess time will tell if they keep going too much longer.
No, I appreciate it. Hey, what I want to do is I'm going to transition. I got a couple more questions for us, but if you're watching and you want to, chime into the conversation, just put your comment in Facebook. We'll drop it in here. So I want to know, let's focus on what is working for you, right? What are you reading? How are you growing as a leader? What types of things have you seen have been pivotal for you to keep your sanity? Those are the types of conversations, right? Because I just finished up my 5th master class this week. I'm about to kickstart another one tomorrow. For me, that's been essential. Reading a book, doing 75 hard things, trying my best to stay as sharp. Launching this has come from, seeing a need just to get some good individuals together, have a great conversation, find an opportunity to network even better with my friends, and see what opportunities can get created from it. So for that, and then, I'm going to piggyback on what everybody's kind of said, there's darkness and there's light to everything we go through. And it's like finding the pros and the cons. And then the opposite is finding the con of the pro and vice versa, the pro of the con. And this is the opportunity right now for the next couple of minutes. I want to learn what's really, what are you guys doing to stay sane? I think that's an essential thing because somebody's watching right now. I promise you, they're thinking about taking their own life. They're thinking about, I don't have enough money to pay for food for this weekend. I didn't have a payday on my Friday. There's a family member that, is struggling with, for me, a lot of people in my life and around drugs and alcohol, as you all know, it's a big part of my message too, is being the voice for the person who doesn't have one. So I wanted to use this time to let you speak to those types of people, because they're just like you and me. and give some insight, give some takeaways, and then we'll come back for the final part, which is the takeaways from the event, and let you guys kind of give your takes, and we'll close up tonight's episode.
You know, one of the things that has been pivotal to me is that I realized that I need to reinvent myself, regardless of whatever my industry is doing, whatever the economy is doing. And you know, I've been working with a coach. I've been working on my personal brand. I've been committed to doing my rituals as hard as they've been at times. You know, prayer, meditation, journaling, you know, reading. I'm currently reading The Purple Cow, said Godden, just because the way the economy is. Just I realize that there's different things that are going to happen, and that I have to take a different leadership road. I don't know ultimately what's going to happen with my business in Mexico. Is that my primary concern? No, that is not my primary concern. My primary concern is that I am mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually fit to be able to undertake whatever happens after this. And that I am able to lead not only myself, my company, my group, and my son into the next phase of whatever whatever it is to come. And the reality is that this is not the first time that we face challenges. We have faced many, many challenges, as Aaron well stated. You know, 2008, the recession of 2008 was probably one of the worst recessions I have ever seen in my lifetime. You know, we had 9/11. 9/11 brought about many, many, many changes. You know, what we see at the airport, the security, the type of scrutiny that we see in security today was as a result of 9/11. So there's a lot of changes that are forthcoming, but along with that, there's a lot of opportunities. So, you know, we're staying open. We're staying open-minded. We're meeting with our group on a regular basis. We're talking about future opportunities. But right now, my primary concern is the safety of my household, my personal well-being, and the well-being of my community. Everything else can take backseat to that.
Yeah, you control what you can control, right? And that's first and foremost is you. And that's what I love, Brad, what you were talking about too. It's like everything is what everything else is, but what's really going on is what's going on inside of me, and getting that right, because that's going to be the leadership. Like, it's crazy when I think about Brad, I have this vision in my head of you. One of the first times that I really got to know you is when you were pushing yourself, and it was an extreme, and you got on the phone with me and you're like, yeah, you know, I didn't say yes to just doing like one Everest. I decided to do 2 Everests, and I didn't know how I was going to even do it, but I just committed to it. And the next thing you knew, you were out there when everybody else was taking a break. And that's the perseverance that I love about your state of mind, is that you're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to control what I can control. The stuff I can't, I'm not going to worry about, because I can't even go in the conversation, because it's like, it's almost conspiracy. I don't know what I can't control. So I just love your take on that.
You know, I think that it starts with a plan. And I think it starts with having a plan that you believe in. And I think that for some people, it's difficult to find that plan, and to have, you know, one of the hardest things in my life is to establish a belief. I would dub myself agnostic. And it's not because I don't want to believe in a God. It's because I don't know how. I can't get myself to a place of believing that that is fact. And in fact, it's not fact, it's faith, which is why that's the title, right? So I think that that's one of the challenges, is having that plan. And you said, hey, sometimes you don't know the answer, and maybe that's what faith is. But that's why things like this are so important. And that's why it's so important to wake up in the morning and read. And if you don't want to read, watch constructive videos online, right? Be around people that help you expand your mind and grow, because that helps you snap into frame with a plan and get support and or just support that a plan is the right direction. And I think once you have the plan, the next challenge is the discipline to execute it, right? And staying true to the course to executing it. And so the space that I'm living in the moment is, this thing didn't disrupt my plan. It changed it, but my plan is still stable. So how I've been moving is keep doing the same thing and take advantage of the opportunities and drive, right? Don't waste the time. Drive right now while I can. And for some people, this is the moment to reassess the plan, but recognize that you have more time to reassess the plan right now and use the time to do that, to build the new plan, right? But it's one or the other. It's either you're going to figure out the plan, and it's a blessing that you've got more opportunity to do it and more resources. Shit, everybody's just sitting around. You have more access to people now than you ever would. You know, you can, Tony, to line up 4 people for one of these things with a few days notice 6 months ago, way more difficult. Who knows what's going on with me or Aaron or Peter at 4:15 or 3:15 or wherever you are on a Friday afternoon. But right now you can connect with those people, right? So there's opportunity there to do that. But I think that's it, man. It's, you know, have a good plan and work it ultimately.
This is a quote that I continuously go back to over and over again. Aaron, you can read it in your sexy late night talk show voice.
I don't know about that. You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. Spoke Mr. Fuller. Very deep, Tony.
No, it is, but I think it's also what we're talking about today, right? Like the model that's coming out of this for us, you know, Brad was talking about it. Some industries are, you know, thriving, and you're going to see them barely holding on to survive, and vice versa. You know, the oil and gas, you know, that people are going to eventually get their cars back on the road, and, you know, the industry is going to say, hey, we need the oil again and the gas and all this good stuff. You know, and cars need to get back on the road. And I know where I'm taking them. Aaron's got good people all around the United States being, you know, taught by the best. So, you know, hey, some things are going to return, but a lot of things we know. I surf TMZ. That's where I get my news. So shoot me for that. But they showed a photo of how people in Italy could be potentially having dinner, like glass, and how they serve wine, like coming through your table and pouring it, but it's all plexiglass all around you. And they were even talking about setting up on beaches, like, you know, 12 by 12 little places for you this summer, and a maxing of 3 people so you can enjoy the beach. I mean, you know, things are going to change. But the one thing that I don't believe will change is the amount of leadership that we need right now. Like, we need more leaders. So Aaron, I'm going to look to you and then wrap with Peter, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap up today's show.
You know, I just think that if I freak out, they're going to freak out. If you guys freak out, they're going to freak out. We need everybody to be calm. And even if we disagree and we don't believe in what others are doing, we need to just let it play out and go, okay, that's cute, but you'll see. And let it play out. And then when it returns back to normal, don't be the first out there saying, told you so. You know, no one thought anyone was going to fly after 9/11. We flew. It did change. You had to go through this annoying thing called security, which I'm sure there'll be something here, probably with the vaccines. There'll be something they can go grab money with, you know. But something will change. But people will eventually go to restaurants. People eventually will go to beaches, and we'll look back and we'll make fun of our ignorance because we didn't really understand the disease. At the end of the day, though, if people panic and don't resolve their situation, like I think Peter was saying earlier, and just saying, I'm going to make this my priority, and I'm going to do this, 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 and this, and this, in that order. If people don't do that for themselves, they're not going to have peace in this moment. Like, all of us have, you know, whether we believe or not, our faith in something, or if we don't believe, you know, maybe it's in your checking account, I don't know, but you believe in something. Then after that, are my loved ones safe? Do we have food in the cupboard? Do we have food on the table? You know, do I have a way to go get more food? Is there a store? You know, okay, I can be calm now. But when you finally make the decision, I'm going to be calm even if none of that's available. Even if there's no store. I'm not going to go arm up, you know, get ready with the militia and the local boys around the corner. You know, I'm going to hold it together. When you can make that decision, no matter what happens, and really understand stoicism, you know, in its true meaning now, when it really matters, I think on the other side of this, people are going to look to you, because I'm telling you, there is huge opportunity, not just in business, but in friendship and everything else. There's so much opportunity, but you got to be looking for it right now. And I think people who are looking for opportunity are able to use that to balance on the other side, the fear, kind of use that to counteract and calm themselves down. You know what? Things aren't going great. But I think Peter laid it out earlier. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for me to grow, look for other people that maybe weren't doing their job right. Maybe they'll go out of business. That'll create more opportunity for me, whatever. But it'll all shake out is the point. And I think that keeping your head on straight, staying calm, and being that one that calms others down can do nothing but help. Because us panicking and talking about how horrible it's going to be, not just how bad it's been, but how bad it's going to be, is not going to help this. If we're all on here going, man, did you hear they're about to shut down the border? I'm talking about the county line, not the, not Mexico and America. I'm talking about, I can't even get into Nashville. When people start talking like that, oh my gosh, all it does is drum it up. So it's about chasing sensationalism right now. If we can just go, you know what, there's nothing out there. I'm just going to chill.
Wise words from Aaron Stokes.
I'm going to calm down.
Thanks, brother. Peter?
Tony, I'm going to share a joke that I saw on social media today. And it's a recovery joke. And that is, it's more of a quote than it is a joke, but it read something like this. I'm not quoting it verbatim, but it read something like, if you think there's problems now, imagine all those children that are being homeschooled by alcoholics. So, with that said, we got to find a little bit of humor in what's going on.
I bet recesses would be a little bit longer.
Or timeouts, rather. Or timeouts would be longer. But you know what? There's not much to add to what Aaron and Brad had said. I think first and foremost, I want to thank you for putting this together and for inviting me to be part of it. What a great opportunity to be able to continue spreading a message of goodwill and of support to the communities. And that's what I want to continue doing. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to collaborate and serve in any way that I can. I think you have taught me many lessons in our short friendship that we had, and one of them was that it is not time to manage; it's a time to lead. And I'm going to continue to do that the best that I can to the best of my abilities.
Awesome. Hey, I just want to say thanks. We're going to wrap up today. So if you have a piece of paper, something to write with, or use your imaginary memory, Brad, I did my best to think about what was shared today, but they're single or double words, so nothing amazing. So the job for you guys is to pick at least 3 or add something that maybe it's been on your heart that you've heard multiple times that I didn't catch. And then just kind of wrap up. I'd love a way that people can learn more about you. So if you simply just say a URL or something where people could learn more about you, we'll include it in the show notes as well. So the ones that I've got today, there's 6 total. It says, number 1, don't waste it, whatever that is. Don't waste the opportunity. Don't waste the time. Now is the time to lead, not a time to necessarily just stay stagnant, right? Do something with this moment. I love we got this versus I got this. I love the whole simple fact of we. Because, if you flip we upside down, it says me, and it tells me, hey, like I'm in part of this. I'm not sitting back watching. I'm a part of the solution. I'm not part of the problem. And I love how that comes into play. Focus, like find your focus right now as clear as ever. What's the opportunity? And then the last piece for me, if I didn't mention it already, is truly connection. Connection is like huge for me, and how you're staying connected, because I think it's so vital. I'm instructing everyone at our company. If you send an email, that's awesome. But if you pick up the phone, I'm like, I'm going to high five you, give you a little extra bonus, because I think that is right now is what people need, is the human touch, not the digital, the human touch. All right. So we'll kick off. We'll close. Aaron, you can drop URLs to whatever, and then pick 3 of the 6 that I mentioned. Go for it.
I don't know if I can remember all of them.
I told you to write them down.
I thought you were talking to the audience. I didn't realize you were talking to us.
Oh my gosh. And what do you run? What are you in charge of? Oh my God.
Nothing. I'm in charge of nothing.
Lydia,
no one would
wearing
be
the in the family.
in charge of anything. I like Peter said, thank you so much for having me on here, and it's been a lot of fun. I think that some of the things that I am going to take away would be that, I love how Peter lined up step by step, the priorities. I think it's huge right now. I like Brad's take on the entire situation and trying to, figure this out and be able to predict it. And we just can't. We've never been here before, just like we'd never been in 9/11 and we'd never been in 08. Maybe it happened in the country, but I don't know of anybody that was alive and an adult and investing at that time and knew what, the 29 crash was like. So I think that those are huge takeaways for me, that when this is all said and done, I've got to leave and go, you know what, how am I gonna stay focused? And I think that it's true. I don't know the future. I'm not going to try to figure it out. I'm not going to waste the energy to try to figure it out. I'm going to ride this wave. I'm going to keep my priorities straight, like Peter said. And if I do that, I'm going to have a lot of peace in my life, and it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
I love it. How do people find you?
You can check me out, or just email me, Aaron@shopfixacademy.com, or you can find me on Facebook. I'm all over there. I'm not really anywhere else. I don't really do anything with my LinkedIn page. So those would be the two places to find me.
Awesome. Hey, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. Peter, I'll go to you and then I'll go to Brad.
Yeah, stay connected. We got this. And lead your family, lead your businesses, and lead in your community. And you can find me at www.comingcleanpodcast.com.
Awesome. So www.comingcleanpodcast.com. Thank you again for being here today and jumping in. And it's connection for me is what has helped me to get through this. Receiving a message last Friday night saved me from putting together a puzzle with my wife. So I just want to say thank you to Brad. That's something that I'm not good at, man. I have a hard time sitting there just putting a puzzle. And guess what kind of puzzle we were putting together? I think I even shared with you, Mr. Rogers puzzle. I mean, go figure that. I'm like, all right, cool.
Don't worry, Tony. She's saving it for you tonight.
I hope not. Maybe something else, but not that. All right, Brad.
I'm going with opportunity, focus, and don't waste it. This is as with anything in life, you have a choice about how you want to act and how you want to respond to what's happening. Nothing is happening to you or for you. Things are just happening, and you're making a decision about how you're going to respond to them. So whether things feel awful right now or they feel amazing, there's opportunity within it if you focus and decide not to waste it.
I love that. You know what, Brad? I got to tell you, every time I've ever had a conversation with you, even last one in Mexico, when you like, hey, did you see my photo? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, I was dressed up in my attire. I'm going skiing. We're in Mexico. The guy's in the hut, literally with his snowboarding gear on. He's taking a photo, just chilling. That's why I wanted to have you on. That's why I wanted to have Aaron. You guys are just great humans with a great message and a big heart to help other people. And I think it's so important. I was going to read this. It says, for me, this is something coming in just from Sean. It says, for me, staying in contact with my coach, Aaron Clements, Aaron Stokes, nightly coaches, journaling, a lot of coffee. We've been steady. Sales are down, though. Most important is the great relationships, and doing more in the community has kept our mindsets positive. In the beginning of this, I lost my dad and spent a week traveling, spreading his spirit across places he was in his life. And so you talk about, as we close the show with the same kind of theme, that this too is going on, but I am a true believer this too shall pass, and we will be better for going through it. Mm-hmm. That's something that's hard for me to really put a lot of emphasis on, but I want to preface it this way. I am better because you three came and shared an hour of your life with me, helped to give some love to the community and the world that's out there that really is needing some guidance. And the positive news channel is really the one that you want to focus on. Get off of the constant and negative news channel. Seek good counsel with your friends. Go find some new ones. This is a time to pick up the phone, skip your favorites in your phone, and go look at all the other numbers that you have in your phone, the people that you haven't talked to in a while, and check on them. I love you guys, and it means the world to me that you came, you showed, and you gave some of who you are. This to me will always be one of those times in my life where I look to my friends to help me get through it, because I'm only as strong as I am, and I need guidance. Next week, our next show is going to feature Tanner Larson, Matthew Stafford, and Nick Coates. They're coming in hot. They're going to be ready to give you more information. So look for that. Find us on YouTube. Look for us on Google Podcasts and iTunes. We're doing our part. On behalf of Peter O, Estevez, Aaron, Stokes, Brad Weimert, my name is Tony Grebmeier. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, choose to make today the best day of your life. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Networking Remote. Remember, you are not alone. Stay connected